Well guys, long time no AI. My time's been pretty split between the other channels I work on as well as editing the podcast that's now weekly dropping on this channel, but I figured I'd treat you guys to some more AI generated Goosebumps since it's been such a long time. I know most of these come from the fake Goosebumps guy, so make sure you go check out his pages and show him some love. But without further ado, you can't make souffle with skulls, and the tagline states, always check your eggs. Based on what we're getting here, I assume this could be a sequel to either Chicken Chicken or Egg Monsters from Mars. Let's say our main character is obsessed with baking, they go to the grocery store, they decide to go shopping all on their own, they grab a carton that looks kind of funny, it's the last carton in the section. When they get home, they check it. We don't get eggs, we get mini skulls, and when they crack them, they get this slime green gelatinous brain that leaks out. Let's say they use it and they bake with it, and the souffle they make ends up turning people into zombies. I don't know guys, I'm drawing straws here, but interesting art, not bad color concept. I'd give it like 6.5 out of 10, would definitely read it at least once. Monster cheese, and the tagline reads, we've already used it's got a bit of a bite, haven't we? Now when people describe food, sometimes they say it has a bite or a kick, so guessing that's a pun on that. Yeah, let's just say monster cheese is something only usually sold to monsters, but unfortunately a shipment got mixed up and made it to a local small town's grocery store, where the protagonist's parents ends up buying the monster cheese, and the protagonist has to deal with it every time they open their fridge. The cheese tries to influence them, or maybe bite them. It'd be a pretty streamlined story that ends with a cliffhanger that the family's having mac and cheese. When the kid bites into his first spoonful, he feels something poke his tongue, and it turns out the monster cheese was used to make this mac and cheese, and the mac and cheese bit him. It's a silly book idea with a silly color scheme to match it. I'd give it a 5 out of 10. Don't go in the basement. The tagline reads, there's exposed wires and stuff. It's just not safe. And to me, this is funny. This is definitely a play on stay out of the basement. This could be the unofficial sequel. It's definitely not the direction I took when I wrote mine, keep out of the attic, but still. It's neat. Cover art's pretty decent. It leaves a lot to the imagination, and honestly, who wasn't scared as a kid going down into a dark basement like that? I know I was. I like the art, I like the color, I would definitely read it, and I would give it a 8 out of 10 for the design. Manta Claus, and the tagline reads, get ready for the 12 days of Christmas. Now we didn't get too many Goosebumps Christmas books, but to me this seems like it would have been a funny one. Kid moves to a town, Christmas is coming up, but everyone's putting up these strange decorations. He asks what's going on, they tell him about the legend of Manta Claus, a Santa-like being that soars through the sky delivering presents to good kids for 12 nights. And if you don't get any presents within those 12 nights, then there's a chance on the 13th day that Manta Claus will take you. From there you'll be forced to work in Manta Claus's shop year-round to create toys for all the good girls and boys. So, kind of a soft spin on Krampus with this one. Definitely interesting. Love the cover art. The color scheme matches it well, and I give this one a 9 out of 10. But I don't want to be a rabbit, and the tagline reads, well, I don't care at all. Yes, that's a wordplay, carrot instead of care. Anyway, this has to be a sequel to Bad Hair Day, considering how it ended. I assume that this would be the aftermath, and the main character from the book finally realizes that the life of showbiz isn't all cracked up to be when he gets tired of being in the form of a rabbit. This book would consist of him escaping, getting either his best friend or his little sister to come back and help turn him back into human, and him soaring off magic forever in the end. Would have tied up the very few loose ends that were left by Bad Hair Day. Either way, I like the color scheme, I like the cover art. I don't know, I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10. Fine dining. And in this book here, the tagline states, our hostess will eat you now. Now, on the cover, it's nothing but skeletons, so maybe with this book, there's an elusive club where only these specialist people get to eat. This kid really wants to go in. Through persuasion and trickery, he finally does get inside the restaurant, but the catch is, to be seated, you have to take off your coat of flesh. Book obviously ends with his skin being ripped off, but at least he gets to have that fine dining experience. Something tells me he'd feel it in his bones. I'm sorry, that poem was terrible. Anyway, I like the art. Color scheme matches it well. I'm going to give this one a 7.5 out of 10. The Texas Coleslaw Casserole. This is obviously a play on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I think it's funny, and we should have gotten something like this in the original series. The tagline states, who will survive, and will there be leftovers? Plot goes something like this. Main character's family gets a weird flyer on their door for the Monster Mash cook-off. The secret ingredient? Coleslaw. Main character's mom whips up a dish called the Coleslaw Casserole. My guess is they get to the cook-off. It turns out that the judges are actually monsters and they plan to eat the humans with the sides that they brought, and it's the main character's mom's dish that stops the monsters, dubbing it the name, the Texas Coleslaw Casserole. Pretty funny. I'd give it a 5 out of 10. I read it once. The Arctic Minotaur. The tagline reads, "Truly a noble beast." Okay, so in this one, we've got a daughter who goes with her parents on research expeditions. This time they happen to be in the Arctic tundra when they come across the legend of the Arctic Minotaur. Through some out-of-the-box thinking, the daughter solves a puzzle that opens up a labyrinth where the Minotaur is then released. The Goosebumps twist for this one, it turns out the Minotaur was just lonely, and instead of chasing down the parents and being mean to them, it just wants to make friends. They end up having an Arctic tea party, and then they all go their separate ways. So more or less a soft reboot of what the Abominable Snowman of Pasadena was. Regardless though, the art's kind of neat, not my favorite. The color scheme works well with it. I don't know, let's go 4 out of 10 for this one. The Evergreen Menace, and the tagline reads, "It's ferocious." Alright, so this one's about a sentient tree that blends in with other trees, and once you bring it home, it comes to life and turns into the Evergreen Menace. From that point, it kind of wreaks havoc on your house. So, more or less a spookier version of the Cat in the Hat. The only way to stop the Evergreen Menace is to feed it Christmas cookies, because why not? It's a Christmas book. Regardless, I think it's a neat concept. It would probably be a fun little read. I don't know, 5.5 out of 10. Return of the Masked Mutant. The tagline states, "Unmask the terror of the mutant if you dare." Now, a lot of people would like to see this, myself included. This feels like it could have easily been, if not a book in the original 62, definitely a 2000 series book. Yes, the mutant was defeated in the first book, but it definitely feels like there was room to bring him back. I mean, we all know with like superhero stuff, none of them ever really stay dead. So, to me, I think the Return of the Masked Mutant would be really awesome. Plot-wise, let's say it's been a couple years since he was defeated. Boy kind of feels like things are unresolved. Kind of like the intro to Nightmare 4. He keeps going back to the mutant's lair, just looking around, making sure that things are exactly how they were left after the battle. Skipper has nightmare after nightmare about the mutant coming back, until one day while visiting his old battlegrounds, he sits down in a chair to wipe some sweat off his forehead, when the chair starts to move and contort around him, and the mutant returns. Plot twist was it just took a long time for his molecules to reassemble. Then the mutant and Skipper have another crazy battle, and the mutant will best him in this one, trapping him inside a comic book, and then taking his place because he can turn into anything. He's the masked mutant. This would set us up for a 3rd installment in the series, and I don't think anyone would be upset about that. Anyway, I like the art, and the color scheme's great. I'm gonna give this one a 10 out of 10. Lastly, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Bye.